Direct from the Best Damn Sports Bar on Martin Street in Penticton, this is Coach's Corner, presented by Underwriters Insurance. It's time for your weekly fill of Vees conversation and BCHL news and notes with members of the Vees organization, fans, and the local media. Now let's get to the hockey talk with head coach and GM of the Vees, Fred Harbinson, and your host, Ryan Pinder.
Welcome to Coach's Corner. It is the final episode of the 2010-2011 season, number 20. It is March 17th. Underwriters Insurance, our title sponsor of Coach's Corner. On episode number 20 tonight, we will address the Vees season over after a second round elimination at the hands of the Salmon Arm Silverbacks. Also, a closer look at some of the achievements of the 2010-2011 slate. And finally, a playoff MVP award announced today. Who was the winner? Was there more than one winner? We'll address all those with the head coach and GM of the Penticton Vees, Fred Harbinson. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Where's the green? It's St. Patrick's Day, man.
This is kind of green.
That's close. Yellow. Okay. We'll give you part marks there. The season's over. We would love to be talking about Game 1 tomorrow in the Interior Conference Final. We are not. How frustrating is it? And maybe walk us through the emotions that you've gone through in the last couple days.
Well, there's been a lot of emotions, a lot going on, obviously, and I think the season wasn't frustrating, but I think that one round was definitely frustrating. But done this long enough. I mean, anybody that's been around sports understands that there's certain things that you can control, and certain things, just the bounces don't go your way. And I think what makes me feel better probably is we've now finished our exit meetings, and I'd have to say the exit meetings were probably the most positive exit meetings we've had in my 4 years here. And so the frustration for me is I'm disappointed for the people, most of the ones that are, the people that are sitting here in front of me today, the people that, that buy season tickets, that really have ownership in this team, my owners, and most importantly, my players. I'm frustrated for them because it was one of those things. I think we prepared real well. I think we had a great game plan. And in my 17 years of coaching, and along with a lot of other people that are in this business that have called and made comments, and ones that are there, hasn't seen something like this play out over a whole series, maybe a game or two, but not a whole series.
1 through 3, the games had to be the ones that were against the grain. You outshoot your opponent by more than a 2-1 margin, 135 shots to 65, scoring chances in between that 2-1 to 3-1 ratio in your favor. You lose all 3. Have you seen that sort of a stretch, 3 games in a row? You can outplay your opponent and lose, but 3 in a row in the playoffs just seems to be.
It's happened in pro sport. You'll see it in pro sport, but I mean, for me personally, no, I haven't. And even if we went and dug into it, it would be pretty hard pressed to find in any NHL history, a team that gets outshot that drastically. Now a person that maybe never came to the game or doesn't know much about the game would make a comment that possibly, they weren't, shots are shots. So then the hockey person would dig into it and say, well, what we call grade A opportunities, which we've talked about since you and me have been together. I'm not a big believer in just shots, because I mean, we could be shooting from outside the blue line, outside the wherever. We were averaging over for the people that don't understand, probably 8 or 9 grade A chances in a game would be very good.
Over the course of the regular season.
Over the course of a game, about 9 in a game would be pretty high.
Yeah.
I think we had 17 in the first game, somewhere around 15, 16, 17 in the second game, and I think 19 in the third game. It was unbelievable, the chances we were getting in tight, deflections, breakaways,
penalty shot,
so the different things that were going on, and their guy had a performance that I told him that I had never seen in my time as a player or coach, up front and personal, and some of our guys, I guess if they were a professional, you'd say, well, geez, they didn't bury their chances. But it goes without saying, I think our guys, I'll stand nose to nose with anybody that questions how hard they played, their integrity. I mean, we had a kid, Brendan O'Donnell, that with 8 minutes to go in the game, decided not to take freezing so he could get stitched up quicker to his face, to his hand. When we're down 3-1 and down 2 goals with 8 minutes to go, he's throwing up, getting stitched up. I mean, anybody that would question that kind of character means that they've probably never been around sports.
Fair enough. You mentioned the exit meetings. Is the team coming to terms with how this happened? Do you have to make sense of a loss, or is it better to just move along and look to next year?
No, you never. That would be. That's not what we're about as a program here. Our program here, people have made comments about what our program's about. Our program's about winning hockey games and developing people. Along with that, developing players. And so, if I just said, okay, let's not discuss or let's not talk about how this took place, I would be doing those young men a disservice. So I think that us as people and anything you do, you become the person you are by all the experiences that you have throughout your life. And I think this is one of those experiences that I told them. I stood in front of them and I said, guys, this is one of those things. A lot of times as a coach, I can sit in front of you and say, I've been through this. I've done it. This is how we're going to, this was one that I couldn't say that to them. And at the end of the year, we talked about it and said, you know what, you're going to be stronger if you see this situation in the future, maybe how you're going to stick handle through it.
It doesn't seem like a group that has any regrets. Everything was left on the ice. Is it safe saying that?
That's why I said at the beginning it was probably the best exit meetings that we've ever had here, even when we won the championship in 07-08. I think everybody understood that they threw it all out there. Right from Mark McMillan, who wasn't able to play in the final series, to Billy Faust, who never got a chance to play in the play. Every single guy felt that they did what they could do. Our coaching staff, I felt that we had a good game plan together, and when you dissect, we didn't talk about it a lot, but when you dissect it, it sounds like excuses. Outshoot them. Goal doesn't count in the first game. Your top guy out. I mean, it's excuse. So we don't. I'm not going to get into all the details of it, but we feel pretty good as a staff that and I don't feel like we have anything to answer for in that situation.
Salmon Arm, let's give some credit to what they've done. That program's turned around almost 180 degrees from last year, where they were beaten by Quesnel, and I think the butt of a lot of jokes around the BCHL circles, to be honest. What do you think of them moving forward, and do you think a guy Moore has that unfinished business mantra, traded from Camrose, the team that's hosting the national championship?
Well, personally, I feel that if something doesn't change, it's going to be tough. I kept telling my guys it's going to be tough for them to duplicate, game one and game two. He keeps proving me wrong. He kept doing it. I think it's going to be hard if they don't change the way they played their best game in game 5. So if they play like that, they've got a chance. If it's where they're giving up 50 shots, let's be honest. As a coach, if we won 3 games in the regular season, giving up 42, 44, and 52 shots, we would probably have one hell of a bad practice on Monday.
Yeah, skate.
So, I think Tim's a very, very good coach, and he realized that, and he's going to have to tweak some things to make sure that they make some changes if they want to beat Vernon. And I think he knows that, and that's not taking anything away from them. I got to give them a lot of credit, more than just than Moore, was that they were very opportunistic and found a way to bury. If we gave up 2 grade A's in a game, they found a way to score 2.
Yeah, no question. And also, I thought moving forward, games 4 was their second best effort. Game 5 was their best effort. They're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Finally, there's been some, reaction amongst fans and media in town. Some of it positive, some of it negative. I just wonder what you take out of that, and I guess particularly there's been 2 articles that in the last 2 days have been published. I wonder what you make of that, and if that's paper guys trying to sell papers, or if you take that personally.
Well, first off, I think I'd be naive to think that there's no fans that are unhappy. It goes without saying there's going to be people that are disappointed. In saying that, all I've had is positive phone calls, positive emails. Our real fans, the people that I say that come all the time and are around, have all been real positive and understand kind of what happened. As far as the other stuff, I don't take it personally, and it's kind of ironic because a lot of people watch that show 24/7 this year, and I think it opened a lot of people's eyes to what goes on with hockey and behind the scenes. And there was George McPhee, the GM for the Capitals, made a statement. And if anybody that's been around me will understand that I'm not stealing this from him, because I've used this statement from the beginning. I learned this when I first got into coaching. And he made a comment in that show that said that when things go wrong, all the experts come out. And the fact of the matter is that those experts those people that think they're experts, if they were really an expert, they'd be in hockey, because a lot of people love hockey.
Right.
And so the people that wrote those articles, I don't take it personally at all. I'm a little upset for the organization, because I think we do things the right way. The people, the real people, the hockey people in the North America, always want to send players here, want to be part of our organization. So that bothered me a little bit, as far as our organization taking a shot. But I thought it was poorly, to criticize it, I guess I thought it was poorly written, because there was a lot of unfactual stuff in there, things that were really off base, and but they have every right to, I guess, to say what they want. And for me, I'm here tonight. My son's laying in the hospital right now, but he understands that this is my job. And the same people that had an opportunity to write those articles, one of them couldn't make it to our year-end, wrap up to ask questions because he had a dentist appointment.
All right, we'll take a break. Never boring on Coach's Corner. Segment 2 coming up. We'll look back to the regular season. It'll be pale in comparison, I'm sure. We'll be back in a moment. This is Coach's Corner, brought to you by Underwriters Insurance at the Best Damn Sports Bar. Welcome back to Coach's Corner. It is segment 2 with the head coach and general manager of the Penticton Vees, Fred Harbinson. My name is Ryan Pinder. Let's wander back in time to the regular season, Coach. You've had 4 years here. They've all been pretty different in feel. How does this one stack up?
I think it was, obviously I think we had a good year. I think we had to deal with some adversity with some of the guys. We battled hard to get Mark McMillan first game. Boom, he's gone for 20. And I think a lot of other guys stepped up in the process, and I thought a lot of guys, we were an exciting team. I thought a lot of guys, brought their A game on many nights, and once again, going back to our extra interviews, a lot of the guys that have been here a while and guys that have been on other teams said that this is probably the closest knit team they've ever been in, and we make notes on every guy, and I mean, the amount of guys that said this was their favorite year of hockey is overwhelming. And a lot of times when you lose in the playoffs, especially something like we did, in a second round like that, a lot of times there's so much bitterness and, finger pointing that, they you forget about everything else. And I think it goes to speak a lot about the character. Our older guys really made the younger guys and new people feel good, and it was a real easy group to coach, that's for sure.
Off the ice, your coaching staff changed a fair amount. Steve Cawley comes in his first year. Michael Hengen returns to the program. And you also, behind the scenes, names that people might not know, in terms of helping out with some video and other things, your staff expanded there as well with Matt Sells. What was that like, and what was the dynamic in the coach's office as compared to previous years?
Well, like I said, I think it filtered throughout the chemistry on our team, the chemistry in our coach's office was awesome. And I mean, it was a nice spike for us, for sure. I had probably one of the more fun seasons of coaching, and that's what makes, not going all the way even more disappointing. But no, I thought, my guys, Matt, everyone you've mentioned did a great job, and Jason Mooney, we have quite a group of people that help out with this organization, like right from our owners all the way through, and that's why as when people take shots at our organization, that back we were talking about, not to go back to that, but just that's why I think we're a little protective, because I think we've got so many great people that are around this organization and work real hard.
Let's get some news today. The Penticton Vees announcing their playoff MVP award, the only award not given out at the banquet for obvious reasons, because the banquet was before the playoffs. Co-winners, Troy Stetcher, Logan Johnston. I heard a lot of dialogue talking about both. They're such different cases, it's almost apples to oranges, and in the end, co-winners named pretty special performances from both, despite the premature exit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, a lot of people don't like co-winners and deals, but there was just not much nothing we could do about it. Both guys were just amazing in their own right, and for Troy, his entire year is just something to marvel at. And we talk about what we're bringing to the community and what we're bringing to the fans. I mean, here's another kid that I think people need to embrace, because he's a kid that you're probably going to watch on Saturday nights, years to come here. And for a 16-year-old, definitely in my time here, and then I got to go back to my recruiting years, it's been a long time since I've seen a 16-year-old have a season, and then obviously a playoff like this, with the type of minutes that he plays and the situations that he plays. And he elevated his game to another level that excites us during the playoffs. So pretty special. You talk about Logan Johnson, 2 years in a row now, upping his game when the games matter. And me and Logan had a very serious discussion today about what needs to be done so that he can try to carry that right from day one next year in his final season. But he's well aware, and he's excited. And he's going to be a guy that's going to help lead this team to the next phase next season.
We'll get back to Logan in a moment. First, another note on Troy. I was just trying to think of comparables in terms of a 16-year-old, the youngest you can be in this league as a regular, making a huge impact in the playoffs. Sahir Gill was the only guy I could kind of think of, but as a forward, he had some great line mates. It's not a position that you're under the microscope as much. I mean, to do what he did as a defenseman, this might be, historic kind of implications going back decades to find a good guy to compare him to.
Yeah, I don't think we're overstating it or exaggerating it here by saying that. I mean, Sahir Gill, the one thing, they went all the way, but even if you look back to that year, he started off kind of on the fourth line. It wasn't until Christmas time where he got, thrust and earned his spot up on the top lines. And even though I was a forward, I'll be the first one to admit that playing D at a young age is going to be a lot harder than playing the forward position. Every little mistake you make on the back end is magnified. And I think I have to agree with you. Like, Troy we and him talked in our meeting today. From day one, when I first met him, when he got out of the car, I remember sweating, saying, I sure hope this is his brother, because the kid looked like he was 8 years old. And when he walked into I remember looking outside the window at the restaurant. I was waiting for him, and him and his dad get out, and I'm thinking, oh Lord, what am I getting myself into? And then I watched him the next day, and I knew that we could not let this kid go. But even in saying that, I told him today that he went way over my expectations. And another one of our pretty special players that have been fortunate for us to coach and people here to watch.
We'll return in a moment and talk more about the change of the season. It goes from coaching to the more recruiting side of things. It never really stops for both, but certainly the emphasis will be recruiting in the off season now. We'll come back and talk about that. This is Coach's Corner from the Best Damn Sports Bar, brought to you by Underwriters Insurance. Welcome back to Coach's Corner. It is our final segment of our final episode. Time to turn our attention to next season, Coach. Recruiting, they say, is a year-round profession, or I guess something you can't take your finger off of. Where is it at? How's next year stacking up? You do have a little more time than you've had in previous seasons.
Yeah, but so does everybody else. I mean, there's only 4 teams still playing in our division, right? So I mean, you've got to be, you're not going to sit back and put your feet up, that's for sure. And so we've already we started with our exit meetings just to make sure that we had a handle on who is coming back, who's not coming back. And the first thing you do is you look at a team like Salmon Arm this year. They had so many guys that have played 3-4 years of junior hockey. We're fortunate, probably for the first time in my time here, that we've got probably over 10 players that will return. And our usual is around 6, and so we've got probably a dozen guys. We have a team in our league that'll be announced that owes us a player as well, so that's another veteran player that'll be coming in the mix in the next few days that we'll announce. And so then the next phase is the holes that we have to improve on, or the holes that that we need to clog up. So we know what those are. We've already been dealing with players from different areas here in BC, right here at home. outside the province, outside the country, and so the next phase is that we've got first a Bantam evaluation camp for young kids for down the road coming up in April 16th and 17th, Saturday, Sunday, and then we've got our spring evaluation camp, which is May 19th to 22nd, which are guys that are vying to try to get to our main camp. And so we feel pretty good about the guys that are coming back, the response that we've had as far as what they need to do over the summer, and you know what, a loss like this a lot of times is there's a little burning hole in their stomach all summer long to want to get back to it. And a lot of people, you look at our loss last year in the playoffs, well, we only had a handful of guys back from that team, and we lost so many of our key guys. And now this year coming up, I think we're going to have a lot of our core guys back, and so that's going to help in the whole season and keeping on task to say that, hey, remember last year. We don't want something like that to happen again. And but recruiting's going well. Once again, I think a lot of people have a misconception on what recruiting is and how it works. Once again, it's something that unless you've done it, it's really hard to understand, because the first thing people do is they say, well, look at the town, look at the rink, especially the rink. They always say, well, look at the rink. You should be able to get any of the best players. Well, the problem is that you need to get that player. First, you have to identify the player. Then the biggest thing is you have to get the player here to see the rink.
Right.
And to see, all the other things that go on. And kids nowadays are brought up in great programs. They understand what a good program is, and the best players have a lot of these teams going after them. And sometimes our success is what hinders us too. There's kids that are afraid of, am I going to be able to play on that team and in the situations that I want to play in? And so there's a lot of different things that we have to dig into and explain and to try to build before you get that player here to become a Penticton Vee.
Just looking at the line charts and your team at the end of the season, there seems to be a sort of a hole down the middle of the lineup, so to speak. You lose your starting netminder, and your last game of the year, your four centers are all gone, plus McMillan, who was a center as well. Does that place more stress on when you're recruiting that a center, maybe that position would become a higher priority, so to speak?
Well, if I take your job, you can have mine by the looks of it. So, yeah, that's probably right. You know what? Yeah, no, we're looking for centermen, no question about it. I mean, there's no hiding that fact, and we need to have a little bit of everything in the middle there, and you lose some skill up the middle and some size. So that's something that we need to address. But then, the positive is that we have a lot of good wingers coming back. A handful of defensemen and one of our goaltenders. So there's it makes it a little easier when you're able to pinpoint one spot or two, and but it goes without saying that we will be trying to fill a couple center spots.
Let's get to an emailed question. Our weekly emailer, Matt, says, thanks for doing Coach's Corner this year. He really enjoyed it. His question this week, is it too soon to look at the captaincy for next year's club? And does the name Logan Johnson immediately come to the front of the list because he wore a letter and is the only guy returning with a letter?
Well, first off, it's never too early. You always are, even during this year, during the season, you're always, like, my wife gets really upset because she'll find pieces of paper all over the house with line charts. I always draw lines and different things for next year, maybe the year out. You're just always constantly going, and you're always thinking about your core leaders. And so, no, we've put a lot of thought into that already, and then the next phase of that question is that, I think Logan's a great candidate. We're not to the point where we're going to make a decision today. We've talked to our players about that. We are prepared to make decisions soon, but there's a few things that we want to see go on over the next few months, and then it goes without saying that Logan would be, a very great leader. I mean, he was an awesome leader this year as an assistant. He's been with me as an AP my first year, and a complete player the last three, and his role is expanded, and he plays the way we want to play in the future.
Elsewhere, there's a lot of guys that came into the program in their first year that have garnered a lot of respect around the room that I'm sure other guys who are heading out would say that guy maybe should get an A next year. Is there some guys that particularly have jumped to the forefront or maybe have surprised you in their leadership traits in their first year here?
I'm not surprised by it, but there's what made us excited about our exit meetings again today, to go back to that, is that I think we do have a lot of options there. And there's only 1 year in my 4 year that we were concerned going in, and it was this year 2. And when it all ended at the end of the year, I mean, we had one of the best records at the end of the year, but the problem was we were trying to fabricate leaders that year.
Yeah.
You know, we were putting letters on guys just to hope that would spur them to be, you know, better people or just better try to make them a leader. My first year, my third year, this year, I mean, it's natural leaders have been on the team, and I think that once again next year we're going to have a lot of natural leaders, which is going to be really exciting.
Finally, what's the pace of the offseason like? How much time do you spend in Penticton? How much time do you spend recruiting guys you've already identified versus watching games just to get first looks at guys at this point?
Well, I've got a great scouting staff and great assistant coaching staff, and myself. I think we've been out there a lot, so it's not like we're going to be seeing guys for the first time or anything. I mean, a lot of teams are done. I mean, hockey, with the exception of national, I mean, a lot of teams at the midget level are down to their last few teams, and so it's more about trying to meet with people and trying to finalize some things before our spring camp. So, I'm the kind of guy. I mean, wherever I have to go, I go. I mean, that's what I do for a living, and I love doing it, and I'll never slow down. So I'm not a person that if we win the whole thing, I won't slow down, and when we don't win, I'm not going to curl up in a ball and cry about it. I'm going to get up and dust myself off, and we're going to work even harder. So.
And I just might want to remind everyone in the room that the year you were out in the second round previously, which has only happened once before, was the off season that you found Bo Bennett out of LA. So a little more time to convince some of the big guys to come aboard, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, any time. I mean, that's the way you always got to look at it. Is that you have to take advantage of those situations, and we're on top of some really good players for the future. And I think a lot of times recruiting, your best recruiters are your players, and especially the ones that have left the program. And every single one of them, without being prompted today that we're leaving, said, if you need me to call anybody, you let me know, because we loved every minute about playing here in Penticton. And then before I go, the one thing I'd have to say, it's not all on me as a coach or our coaching staff or organization. It's a lot on the people here in town.
Fred, this has been a lot of fun. It's come so far from just a laptop in the corner of a bar last year. Thanks for being supportive of Coach's Corner, and I hope you've had as much fun as we've had here in the last 20 Thursdays of the season.
Every time around you, Ryan, I have a blast.
All right, good stuff. Also, we've got another couple thank yous to do before we close out the season. Coach's Corner could not happen without the support of Derek Hurst, who is behind the camera right now. To call him the detail-oriented director would be understating how good he is at what he does and volunteering his time. Thank you so much, Derek. Also, Neil Jameson of Underwriters Insurance, the title sponsor of the program. Thank you. We couldn't do it without you. And finally, to the Best Damn Sports Bar, our hosts, thanks so much for being warm hosts and letting us come in and have fun once a week. This is the final episode of Coach's Corner. Season 3 will be next fall. We'll talk to you then. Thanks for watching.
Coach's Corner is a presentation of Ryan Pinder Media and the Penticton Vees Hockey Club.